Hi, we should be going out live. Welcome to AdRoll Live. I'm Laura Finity. I'm the Multimedia Content Manager at AdRoll. We come and do a live stream every Wednesday where we chat with different companies, different businesses, talk from all different marketing backgrounds and industry backgrounds to bring you some insights and some advice that you can hopefully apply to your own situation, your own company. As you can see, pretty much like this one point in the week is when I clean the back living room of my house. We're all working from home at the moment and put makeup on. So it's that time of week again. We're here and assembled. If you could see this side of my living room, you would pretty much see like a stack of boxes from online shopping and the mess and the real carnage that I live in. So, you know, this is my pretend reality when I do a Wednesday live stream. Coming up today, we're going to be chatting with Renee Christensen, who is the brand experience manager at Leon and George. They make these gorgeous premium plants that they distribute nationwide. And we're going to talk to her about changing the customer mindset from, you know, traditionally, I think people think of sending flowers as gifts, but the idea of changing the customer mindset to sending plants, and also how they took their premium personalized business to a nationwide level from regional. So that's coming up on the way. We're also going to take a look at AdRoll's plant life. I got on the Slack channel at AdRoll and asked people to send me pictures of their plants and if they have names and things like that, because people do name their plants. I've done it myself. And so I had some submissions. It was pretty interesting. So we're going to take a look at that. I'm not sure whether Renee's going to be judging those plants. I'm not sure if I want to get involved in that kind of competitive nature for people's house plants, but that's coming up on the way. And then finally, before we wrap up today, we've got an online educational ebook that we released this week. And I just wanted to share a bit of information about that. And perhaps you might be able to get some inspiration from this ebook that you could apply to your business, be it for promo videos or be it for internal training purposes. So we chat with Trainicity. I have a clip from Greg, who I spoke to there, that we'll share a little bit later on. But now let's get into our guest. And also, of course, not to forget to say you can contact us because we are live broadcasting at the moment. If you're watching us post live, we still love your questions. So just get involved, put your comments into the chat box, whether you're watching it on Facebook, whether you're on LinkedIn or on YouTube. So you can get in touch with us. We love to hear from you. And even if you want to just tell us who you are, where you're watching from, get involved. We absolutely love that. I've got a short video here before we get Renee on the chat to tell you a little bit about the background of Leon and George. That's what happens when you're live. Small technical issues, don't mind us. Okay, so joining us here on the live stream is Renee. Good morning, how are you doing?
Hi, Laura, how are you?
Good, thank you, good. Weathering some technical issues, but I think we could be plain sailing from now.
Nice, I was gonna say, it wouldn't be a live recording or a Zoom conference without them, so.
That's true. That's true. I was doing like a bingo of how many times people ask, you know, can you see my screen and can you hear me okay? So thank you so much for joining us today and coming to chat a little bit about Leon and George. Really appreciate you taking the time. I think a good starting point is to hear a little bit about yourself and some intro to you.
Yeah, sure. So I am originally from the Bay Area here in California, and I've been working with Leon and George for a couple of years now. And I do all things brand and marketing. We're a really small team, under 10 people, so we all get to wear a lot of different hats in one day while we work with plants, which is a big reason why I love my job. But yeah, mixed background, Jane of all trades, self-taught marketer. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Don't worry. Awesome. And you're also part of our GGC community, the Growth Gorilla Collective that we have with AdRoll. This is a community of marketers that get together and kind of, discuss challenges and also just share ideas and kind of just a part of a community to discuss marketing stuff. So that's how we kind of got introduced.
Yeah, I went to like a little happy hour thing actually right before all of this happened. It was maybe one of my last, normal nights in a bar. It was really fun. I met a lot of cool people there.
I remember, I think I was there, and it's actually the last social outing I think I had as well with a group of people. So, fond memories, fond
Good
memories.
times.
So talk a little bit about the origin story of Leon and George. How did it all start?
Yeah, sure. So the idea behind Leon and George started, like many ideas, actually, with a problem, which was, you see plants everywhere. They're seemingly everywhere, but getting them into your home can be a bit of a hassle. They're big, cumbersome. You need a lot of different pieces to make, a perfectly potted plant. Then, of course, you have to keep it alive. So when our founders started the company, that's really the problem they wanted to solve was, how do you make it easy to get a beautifully potted plant into your home? They wanted to kind of streamline the process, bring plants, potted plants online, and also make it a bit more personalized of an experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think for anybody who has tried to get, like, say, a small tree even to a house in we both live in San Francisco, but city living in general, like carrying heavy trees and plants upstairs is kind of like, I mean, it's not the biggest struggle you can have in the world, but it is a struggle. It's like, it's not that easy.
We as a team, we like to kind of, when we see people out about in the city, like carrying a big tree, we just crack up, and we like to, we're like, oh my gosh, just spotted on Valencia, someone walking, and, they're struggling, and it's just like, you feel for them, it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is not. And also, I think sometimes just that if you live in a city, getting access to the plants is another thing. I mean, for myself, like we basically, if you've bought plants, we tend to go actually out of the city, and it's more like a day trip going out to the country.
Absolutely.
To like.
And we live in San Francisco. We have so many, so much access to like, city parks and things like that. But nowadays, with people living, more commonly in, urban areas, I think having indoor plants is definitely a way we can feel more connected to nature in our urban settings.
I also have to show that you have like two cute ambassadors as well. So the name Leon and George come from these guys, and I've actually kind of got them the wrong way around, right? That's George and Leon.
Yes, George is on top and Leon is on bottom. They're the founders' pets. They named the company after them because they also love their indoor jungles, as you can see in these photos.
Oh, that's actually another thing that in terms of finding like pet safe plants as well, because I think if anybody does have like, cats and dogs do get up to mischief, right? They kind of like scramble around in any kind of like dirt they find in the home and can get into trouble with
Totally.
So let us tell us a little bit about the company then. So when it started, and then you first of all, you were working on a regional basis. So what kind of process has it been to go from regional into this national scale?
Yeah, so we did start regionally. Our product is, it's a living thing, and they can be quite big. So that's kind of why it made sense to start off delivering plants locally in San Francisco, and that went pretty well from the beginning. Our founders have a mixed background in design and software development, and so they built our website, and there was a lot of great feedback from the beginning. So we kind of quickly decided to move to LA, expand to LA. So that was kind of our first mini kind of expansion. But we started getting more and more questions from people, in Chicago, Florida. Do you ship your plants this way? Or how can I get one of your plant sets? They're so beautiful. And we just realized, nowadays the modern consumer expects to be able to, order pretty much anything from anywhere. And if we really wanted to kind of grow and scale the business, figuring out shipping our plants and growing the business, into, nationwide offering was really important for us.
And what about your customers then? What have you kind of learned about them over time, and how do you best communicate with your customers? Like, how are they the most reactive with the company?
Yeah, so our typical customers, I mean, I think plant lovers in general, are gonna love, anyone who's selling plants online. I think is like, that's a big win too. It's like there's all these new options of places to get beautiful plants, but our typical customers might not be plant lovers, or they haven't discovered their love for plants yet, or maybe they just consider themselves a black thumb, or they don't feel confident owning plants. So a big part of our, communication with our customers is kind of like boosting that confidence and making people feel that like you don't need to have a green thumb to enjoy beautiful indoor plants. And that's a big part of what we do. It goes way beyond just the product. It's kind of the service. So we not only make it easy for you to get the plant, but we want to make it easy for you to keep it alive and looking super beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those things people always say, like, oh, any plant I get just dies instantly, and there's like, you can try and get yourself a cactus, pretty much might be the only thing that a lot of people feel like they can keep alive, because everything else just kind of requires like either kind of some thought and consideration. So you guys obviously cater for that, and you also you provide like a package basically. So when somebody gets their plant, they have some instructions on like best practices and how to keep it alive and keep it going.
Exactly. They get like a little care card, and the plant has some personality. They are living things. A lot of people like to name their plants, as we've seen with your team as well. And apart from that, they also have, we do a 45-day guarantee. So, if people are like, oh my gosh, I'm sure I'm going to kill it immediately, don't worry. We've got you. And then we also have lifetime plant care support. So that's digitally via email, but we've got plant doctors that you can contact at any hour of the day. And we help a lot of people, troubleshoot any issues they might come across or questions. And I think this is a much better experience than having to sift through dozens of articles on Google why my plant's leaves are falling off or something of the other.
Yeah, and I guess like you obviously have the opportunity as well to build that community of people. So how do you tend to engage with customers to build a community, to try and have conversations? Like, do you have different events that you do, or is it mainly through those email contacts, or what works best?
Yeah, so in the past, we have done a lot of different types of workshops. We did a really fun lecture series, which we called The Not So Secret Life of Plants, where we brought a PhD candidate down from UC Davis, and she gave lectures on kind of the different topics around plant life. That was super interesting and fun. Nowadays, we're doing a lot of online communications. One of the series we do also is a plant care tip every Sunday. It seems so simple, but it's by and far one of our most popular content pieces. And a lot of our customers have come to kind of expect that every Sunday morning they get a little plant care tip in their inbox, which we also share on social. And it's kind of turned, Sundays for our community into like plant care days and kind of self-care, because, plant care is so intrinsically related to taking care of ourselves. So I think in that sense, it's been super powerful.
Do you find like once you have when somebody comes and shops with you, would you have, that retention rate and getting people to come back and buy again? Or, gifting people, like how does that kind of dynamic tend to work?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers buy, I think for a lot of people, buying plants online is maybe not, it's a new idea. So a lot of people will buy once just to test it out. I see that a lot. People are testing out the service. They want to see what it's like to order a plant online and how does it arrive. And then they come back and they order more. And definitely gifting is a huge area, for people to order for others, throughout the year. And so a lot of times too, people will receive a gift, and that's the way they'll discover our service. And so they'll either continue the chain, order another gift for someone else, or order more plants for themselves.
How have you found with COVID-19, and obviously there's been somewhat a bit of people buying more online, kind of indulging more in e-commerce because we're in the situation of being at home and not being able to go out. But have you what kind of challenges have you come across with the current situation, or other ways in which you feel like it's really helped the company?
Yeah, well, I actually heard the other day that the situation right now has actually accelerated the growth of e-commerce. So, maybe by like 5 years. So where e-commerce would have been, e-commerce trends would have been in 5 years, we're there now. So in a lot of ways, it's really helped, especially when you're selling something that traditionally, 10 years ago wasn't really bought online. I think a lot of people who wanted plants and maybe wouldn't feel comfortable ordering them online have found that that's the only option. So they've tried us out. So in a lot of ways, it's definitely helped. And then, plants are so good for you. So I think people spending a lot more time at home, they're, sprucing up their space. They're trying to make it, as relaxing and kind of welcoming as possible since we're spending so much time here. And I think plants play a big role in that.
And you also, so you have some, you'd be stocking to some shops, some physical locations, which obviously right now is probably a lot of those locations are shut. But was the benefit, like what was the thinking behind having the physical shop option, or kind of, distributing to locations, as well as obviously having primarily everything online?
Sure. So we actually don't necessarily stock those shops because we haven't quite figured out how to make sure, if we have products in a store in Austin, Texas, for example, how we can make sure that they're looking great, as we know they are, perishable. So what we do actually, we call them display partnerships, and we bring our plants into different shops and showrooms in different locations. And this is, kind of a win-win situation, because a lot of these places, they want greenery in their stores. It makes the stores look nicer. And then we also get the exposure. I have to say it's tough with plants because a lot of times they look like decor, but we've gotten pretty creative with how we brand them. And so someone, who might spot out one of our plants, think like, oh man, I would love a plant like that in my home. Well, they can actually see that they can have that. They can just order online. So yeah, and I think any e-commerce would agree that having a place where people can, see and touch your products in real life is crucial.
And I guess also that the sourcing aspect has got to be, as you kind of have scaled up from that regional level, where you're basically going to be getting the plants from, and then you have these beautiful ceramic pots. So they are very well, kind of well made and attractive. Because I know just even for myself, like trying to find a pot to fit a plant in is a mission in itself. Sometimes.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's a lot of people. If you've never done it, you don't know. But if you've done it, it is like, why no one is talking to each other, like the people who are growing the plants and the people who are making the pots. And this is like a beautiful pot, but like the dimensions are all off, and it doesn't fit this plant. It's like too small for one plant, but too big for another. So I totally understand and can sympathize with that.
Yeah, it's a weird issue to have, because you're like, okay, I've measured my, the kind of plant and what I need. And then you go around literally looking like a bit of a crazy person measuring pots and then finding one that fits. And then when you do, it might be like the ugliest pot you've ever seen. And you're like, I just want something contemporary, something that's like kind of discreet and not the focus of the room, right? You just want something that's nice to like house the plant.
It's a real problem. I get
you guys definitely nail that. And you've got those lovely like mid-century kind of stand styles as well, which are like very fashionable and also just kind of like well crafted. So kudos to you guys for pulling that off. But yeah, in terms of kind of building that network, I guess, because I'm assuming in terms of distribution, going out across the country, does it all go from one location, or do you have several places across the country?
So for now, they all of our plants are grown in California, and we ship them all out of California. I hope though that one day we'll have an East Coast hub that'll make things a lot easier, and logistically speaking. And I will say that is, in the plans. So, but for now, they all ship out of our two different locations in San Francisco and LA.
Awesome. What about, looking forward in terms of the plant industry and this kind of new movement of this type of service, and also just, people kind of investing more in plants and gifting plants and things like that? Do you feel like we're going to see more of it, or how do you feel at the future?
Oh yeah, no, it's changing very fast. It's a really, the industry is growing very fast, no pun intended. It's really easy to make plant puns all the time, but yeah, it's, up until recently, it was a really antiquated industry where, the majority of plant sales actually still happen at like big box retailers, which is, a less than desirable experience. And I think the industry is being, changing, and that change is being driven by, consumer habits and the modern consumer. We talk a lot about this like conscious consumer. People want to put their money where it matters, in like meaningful products, memorable experiences, brands that give back. And so that's really driving a lot of the change, because up until now, that buying plants, at Home Depot is kind of none of those things. So yeah, that's changing a lot. The growers, they're busier than ever, and this is a really good thing. This is good, it's great for the growers, great for, ceramic makers, small businesses, and new, plant shops, both online and offline, are popping up every day. And that's great ultimately also for the consumer, who has, more options to fit their needs and hopefully find the perfect plant or perfect gift.
I guess so. The more that open up, the more kind of options there are, the harder it is for you guys to also try and compete with that, or to to make sure that you've got that visibility in the market. And
yeah. There's definitely a balance to be struck.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at some of the plants that were submitted from our team. So I'd asked on Slack, basically, I'd said, I have a couple of plants in the house, and I have one that I just call my friend when I water it. I doesn't have like a name. I just call it my friend and give it some water. And so I said, this is my plant. Show me your plants. So first up, we have from Jimmy, who said, of all my wife's 30 indoor plants, so she's a pretty eclectic plant collector, I like this one the most. It's a Maranata. I'm completely terrible.
They're hard to pronounce. Don't worry. You can call it easier name for it, prayer plant, because they open up and close. Yeah.
Oh, yes, there we go. That's way easier already. And Jimmy also said my wife is a big fan of Leon and George. So there we go.
That's a beautiful picture too.
Then next up we had Jason, who was this is pretty impressive, because that is a substantial fiddle leaf fig. That's what he called it.
Fiddle leaf fig.
It sounds like a tongue twister. I know these can get really pretty big, right? I mean, if they're given enough time, enough space, enough water, they'll.
Oh yeah. The problem with these is they're kind of known to be a little finicky, and they need so much light, which is why this one gets the prime time spot right in the window. But wow, this is truly impressive. I think any fiddle owner could appreciate this picture.
Did you say that this tree is older than his 2 children, and has followed him across 3 residences and has outgrown 3 planter pots? And he said that she has a spot of honor near the corner windows and sunlight in our family room, and drinks a gallon of water a week. So
incredible. I love that.
Staying well hydrated. Next up, we've got one from Julie, which is another fiddle fig, leaf fig. This is actually very popular with the team. And also, I'd like to say that Jimmy, Jason, Julie, we do have people with names that don't start with J on the team as well. That's kind of like a theme going on here. But Julie said this plant's called Francis. So this one has a name, and is topping over 6 feet tall now, which is pretty impressive. And she pointed out that the super sophisticated baby proofing around the bottom of the
I didn't even notice. It blends right in.
It actually works pretty well, but I could see, as well as pets, obviously children do get into the pot plants as well, so there's some good child proof in there. And then the last one that we've got to show today is from Scott, which is another fiddle fig leaf plant to the mix. So I'm guessing obviously fiddle fig leaf plants are pretty popular.
Yes, they are one of our best sellers. They've been having a moment for a few years now. They're just beautiful. And this looks like one of ours.
So that one, with the bottom with the holder. This is pretty much exactly like the kind of style that you guys do. It might well be one of yours, actually. They did. So got it from L&G. Yeah, sorry, that's just reading the comments afterwards. Scott said adding my tree into the mix, much smaller, but only a year old. So hopefully we'll catch up with Jason someday. And says that he got it from Leon and George. So there we go. It is one of yours. Absolutely spotted straight off.
Very cute.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Renee, and having a chat about Leon and George, and telling us about a little bit about the company and your growth story. Really appreciate it, and also for putting up with like some of the plant puns, because there are so many of those to go around.
All day, every day. I love them. Thank you so much, Laura, for having me.
No worries. Where's the best place for people to go check out Leon and George and to find information online?
Yeah, our website, www.leonandgeorge.com, or our Instagram account as well. We share a lot of fun stuff there.
Wonderful. And yeah, you guys, it's loads of obviously like indoor plant inspiration as well as just home decor. Like there's some beautiful examples. So I really recommend people go check it out.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Bye.
Yeah, that's Renee from Leon and George. Thank you so much to her for joining us today. We're coming up towards the end of the half hour this morning or this evening, this afternoon, wherever you're watching from. I did want to promote just before we do finish up today that we have an awesome ebook that's just gone out this week, and it's all based around online education. I'm going to add the link to the comments so that you can take a look and also just get a copy of that yourself. Perhaps it's something that you could use to add some ideas to your own business company, perhaps whether it's through training internally or whether it's through things like demo product videos and things like that. There's loads of different ideas for education, especially right now as we can't have that kind of in-person contact. So we caught up with Greg, who's from Trainicity, who provides online courses for corporations and for companies. And he chatted a little bit with us about his trends and what he's noticed through online education in recent years.
There are a couple of trends that are interesting. One is there are a lot of companies that are starting to use online education to teach the users of their products how to use them, the impact of them, the effectiveness. So they're almost using it as a marketing tool in a way, particularly in the medical field where they're customer-facing education. Another, I think, is hybrid learning. And that's where you use a combination of online learning and face-to-face instruction. And I think that's particularly powerful, especially for things like leadership, communication skills, and those kinds of softer skills. Another trend that I don't like so much is using Zoom or WebEx or those kinds of technologies to do education. The tools are hard to manage at times, especially at scale. The more people you have, the more it feels like a large lecture. And I believe online learning should not try to duplicate what you do in the classroom. It should transform.
There we go. That's Greg from Trainicity, who has an awesome voice, by the way, like very soothing voice to listen to. So I'm going to share the link for that full ebook for you to check out. And we'll also have more clips and audio coming from him if you want to listen to some of his industry expertise. A couple of comments came in from Vicky. It said, surrounding yourself with plants in your house is not only healthy, but makes a statement in the room. Thank goodness for Leon and George. Not only do you get beautiful and healthy plants, but you get plant guidance as well. Yeah, totally true. Thank you so much for sending in your message, Vicky. And also Steph, who says, I dream of having a fig leaf. They're serious tongue twisters, these plant names. But Steph says her apartment is too dark. So, these need that light. If you're not careful with kind of city dwelling apartments, you're going to basically end up living with half a house full of tree if it ends up growing like Jason's example and becoming really something quite magnificent like this. So, we're working on it. All right, we're coming to the end for today. I want to say thanks again to Renee for joining us to talk about Leon and George. Coming up next week, we're talking with Carbon Lighthouse. We're going to discuss energy saving as a service, trying to make it appealing basically for people and for companies to be to conserve energy and save money at the same time. Arsalan Barman is going to explain how Carbon Lighthouse use data to bust carbon emissions in the built environment. So we're talking office spaces, hotels, like these types of areas. And he's going to share some predictions for the future of work and also leisure spaces post-COVID-19, because it is going to have an impact on the way in which perhaps buildings are designed, which air is circulated, all these types of things. Obviously, there's still lots of speculation as to how the different environments perhaps are impacting how the virus is spreading and things like that. But definitely he has some really great insights to share a little bit about built environments. And then not only just, with this current situation of people not being in office spaces, but just in general, like how we could all, no matter the size of your company, be more kind of responsive and a little bit more aware of how we can not only save money, but also save energy. So that's going to be next week. Make sure you're following us online. We're on all of the social networks. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all of the places, Twitter, all of it. So you can get in touch with us and we'll be sharing information and links to make sure you can check that out next week. But for now, whatever you're doing, have a wonderful week ahead. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you for joining.